All right. Hello and welcome to this week's Drifting Through Smoke. I am Culturaldrifter.
And that would make me Smoking Fox.
So today we're going to be talking about the new season of American Horror Story. When we're recording this, only the first 3 episodes have aired. By the time this is posted, 4 will be aired. Right now we're just going to discuss those first 3. So we're just going to run through the events of the episode and see what's actually happening here. So the beginning of the first episode, that is what kicks off kind of the framing device of the season, which is the election. Now, we've said this before while we've been talking, that this is the most unsettling season yet. And only because now the season is about what's happening, like, recently. Like, this just happened.
I think that American Horror Story is, like, one of my favorite shows. Yeah. I would say, like, my favorite, but there's Westworld now, so, like, I can't, but those are, like, hack and hack. I think that, because even myself, I love American Horror Story and find that this season brings about a little bit more anxiety only because of the lack of fictitious element and the more reality of, using stuff that is very recent for us. It was just a few months ago that we were living, the first 5 minutes of the pilot, season, episode of the season. Was all recent, footage that was pulled right from our media. It was, it's not, the American Horror Story is our own story this season. Right. It is a reflection, holding America up to the reflection and saying this is what's going on. So,
and I think it's important to note, thus far, this is really the only time now, they did mention Hillary a couple times throughout the first few episodes, but really this is the only time you see the actual presidential candidates that were running and stuff like that. There's mention, but they don't really play too hard into...
it's just like you said, that framing device.
Yeah, it's just kind of set us up. Now, they start us off with 3 main characters in this first episode, right? So the very first person that's introduced is Evan Peters as Kai. Now, Kai seems pretty ecstatic that Trump has claimed victory on the presidential election. I wrote down a quote that he said, "Revolution has begun." The revolution has begun. So I don't know whether he's necessarily 100% on board with everything with Trump, but he knows that shit's going to be stirred up now, and things are going to start changing. So I think that's really all that we can assume at this point from what we know. But again, they don't really give us a whole lot on that. But you said the beginning of the end of reason, I believe, is something that you pointed out.
Yeah, because I believe he says this is the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
The revolution, and that's what I take it to mean. That's what it has appeared to me, that this country has taken kind of a whirlwind since he's taken presidency is a loss.
Now, the first time we watched this, I called the orange face.
You did.
with the cheese puffed.
Yes.
Um, so that leads us to the next person that they introduced, which was Sarah Paulson as Allie, who is devastated, to say the least, about the Hillary losing.
Upon reflection of her devastation, you also find out in that episode that she did not vote for Hillary.
She did not. She voted for Jill Stein.
Correct. But for all that placating to just the dramatic upheaval of her character reaction to Hillary losing, a bit over dramatic for someone who did not vote, we would later come to find out, did not vote for the person she's so devastated about not winning.
And us personally, we've, not for the same candidate, but, that we saw a lot of people that almost withheld their people telling, who they voted for, even though they were rooting on publicly somebody else, and then they vote for another. Any other election, this would have been like, oh my gosh, get over it. But this reaction was legit. We saw people reacting across the country like she did. And so, brilliant depiction on Paulson's part of that devastation that a lot of people felt. Now, we get introduced to Ivy, right? The character Ivy, played by... what's her name?
By Scott Pilgrim's drummer.
By Scott... Allison Pill.
Allison
Pill, that is the name. So she gets thrown into there, and you find out that they're together.
And they are watching the election at Senator Chang's house, who Senator Chang is
it's Senator Chang's
from Hawaii Five-0.
Right.
Have to throw that in there. Do not watch it, but have watched a few episodes because my parents do.
Yes.
So they are.
I'd like to just note on Senator or on City Councilman Chang, his character's name is Tom Chang. His real name is Tim Kang.
Interesting.
So Tim Kang is playing Tom Chang, and I just wanted to say that and have that recorded because that's fun to say. But
the same senator who Kai appeals to in that first episode.
Yes, we get to that where
we're not sure what he is rallying for.
Not really.
But it's just more of fear, bringing, he has that whole, conversation about that people are scared.
Yes. To which Chang responds, "You're scared, we are not." Which is ironic because later on that night he gets murdered. But after we see Paulson and Pill and Kang, not to be confused with this character Chang, we get Billy Lord, who comes in this season hard.
And noise.
Noise.
Noise and hard.
She's killing it this season as Winter.
So she's on the phone with someone when we see her.
We do not know with whom.
We don't know who, but it's someone that she went to college with that dropped out to be part of the election.
Yes,
because they're part of why'd they send us to Florida when we were needed? Some kind of talk of, unsettledness that Hillary had lost after, she had dropped out of school.
Confirming that what she said in the interview, at least that part, when she was interviewing to be the babysitter, that's true. What she said, she spent a year campaigning for Hillary, unless that's just the lie that she told everyone, and she was really off doing it. But it seemed like that girl was like with her campaigning. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens if that ever gets brought back up.
Did you write down the quote that he said as he was leaving the senator's thing? It was like...
Yes. As he was leaving, he said, "There's nothing more dangerous in this world than a humiliated man."
Which is his first reference, the first episode, first reference to the humiliated man. Which I absolutely, that's one of those lines in the season that speaks more to reality of the situation.
Which is just the reality of where a lot of people make a lot of rash decisions is because they've been humiliated in one way, shape, or form. And then they go off and do something stupid to try and prove that they were right or that they're better or not afraid or they got some sort of point to prove to someone.
Correct.
Which it's pretty apparent that Kai has a point to prove. Now, I guess he's trying to make it seem like he has a point to prove, because he's the one that egged on the Mexicans trying to beat on him. You know what I mean?
Don't jump ahead.
But yeah, okay. So after we get introduced to Billy Lord,
Evan Peters makes his way. So after the conversation where it sounds like she is upset that Hillary did not win. I mean, she makes like a comment, where will I get my abortions now if Hillary's not,
which is a hot topic issue.
Kai enters the room, so they live together or they're cohabitating somewhere together.
Yes, wherever it might be. I don't know if it's their parents' house or if they own that home together. Who
even knows ages or if parents are involved?
Yeah.
But it's more of, a picture of kind of woe and dread, fear from her side, and more of excitement of like, hey, and then of course you see like the pinky swear, which is like a seems like a big thing for the season.
Pinky hook.
And then their, I would say quote unquote plan is like set into motion.
Yeah. Yeah, what the specifics we don't really know, but they're up to something. Now, after that, we see the intro, right, which is, they always have unsettling intros with all their stuff. There's a Trump mask and a Hillary mask and clowns. Clowns all over the place, some coffins, and teeny tiny holes everywhere, which are a big part through this season as far as the fears are concerned. Now, after the intro, then we see an old friend.
Cheyenne Jackson.
Well, no, not quite yet. Twisty.
Ah, yes, the Twisty.
Twisty, we see Twisty, the clown,
who's the serial killer, or one, not a serial killer. I mean, he did kidnap people, but he is known in season 4.
The season 4, which was a freak show.
And it opens to,
which I
didn't really watch.
Yeah, I didn't really
short,
watch any. I just let you tell me what happened on that one. Partly from lack of interest, and partly because I'm not a huge fan of the scary. And so
the scene is from
almost a replica or a complete a perfect, replicate of the first
where
episode.
Season 4 takes place in Jupiter, Florida.
Right,
it's got a swampy
see that
kind of feel to it. It's definitely not in Michigan where the rest of the season takes place.
And then it turns out that it wasn't for realsies. It was a comic that the little boy Oz was reading.
Correct. Which also kind of ties into like the reality, I guess, in regards to like that. We know who Twisty is, like what I'm saying. Like it confirms the existence of like the American Horror Story universe. That universe within a universe in regards to that, because it's like.
Well, I mean, they're just referencing that this is all within the same universe. It's just a different story being told. Just like Marvel, this is American Horror Story. That's universe. Anyway. Now, first off, if Allie, Sarah Paulson's character, right? If Allie is so fucking freaked out about clowns and all that stuff, where did he get the comic book? Now, there only leaves one person, really, which is Ivy. And why would Ivy get it for him if she knew that Allie would freak out? You know what I mean? Like,
I understand, but you're jumping way to make him.
I know. I'm making wild accusations.
He's like a kid, 11. You don't know.
Right, that's true. Someone could have given him the comic.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right, exactly. I'll buy it.
But he has a predisposition to clowns, graphic content. He's already seen with it.
Yeah.
He already has it in his possession.
Yes. Something to note. And then, that's when Evan Peters makes his speech to the council chamber. Yes, including Chang. And his big thing was fear. It was all about fear and how fear cripples, right? And Chang's response was, listen, I understand that Papa Trump, made it feel like it's okay for you to come out and say all these things about, anarchy and letting things happen. And which is true. Like, you've seen, over the last few months with, the white supremacy stuff and, the craziness. Now, just recently, the NFL shenanigans that we're going through. So, Trump doesn't pull his punches, that's for sure, when he talks. And Kai is not really pulling any punches either when he does that. But that is where the quote comes in, where there's nothing more dangerous in this world than a humiliated man. Which is kind of his whole spiel, even when you see him later on, is you got to give me some sort of redemption. He doesn't want to be humiliated.
And then somewhere in this episode, we see Sarah Paulson at the doctor, and Cheyenne Jackson, who got a start on 30 Rock, is the doctor. She is in a manic state in the doctor's office, from what I can recall, and it is there when she kind of lists her phobias, which include the clowns, which include the holes, because she freaks out about a piece of coral.
And that, we found that pretty interesting.
That a treating doctor would have and I guess it would be a treatment method to have something that your patients would fear in the office.
This is what they call immersion therapy.
But he put it away.
He did put it away.
And
now,
I think that also is, it's like how many, I wonder what the statistics are for the increase of people making professional, psychologist or therapist appointments after Trump took presidency.
That would be an interesting statistic to
find out in regards to
find out. One statistic that we did find out was that 15% of the population suffers from the phobia of tiny holes.
Which, I don't like looking at. It's not something I would scream and cry about like Sarah Paulson, but I scream and cry about, I deal with social anxiety, so there are definitely
that's true.
irrational fears that I scream and cry about.
That's true.
I
think the tiny holes look cool, especially up close. Like microscopic tiny little holes, and then you
That's the scientist.
Yeah, that's true. Now, the way that Cheyenne is playing this doctor now, Dr. Rudy Vincent, how would you describe his demeanor? He holds himself in a weird way. It's like he wants to help, but he's, I don't know, there is something off about him. There's something off about him. I can't quite shake it. Now, the one thing that I noticed that that stuck out to me in his office was there was really only 2 books that you could make out on the bookshelf what they were. One of them's pretty standard, which is the DSM-4. So that's not out of place. But one of the things that I noticed was like in big letters on one of the books was Freud, which to me is a big red flag, just because of how A, sexual Freud was, and B, he was all about that id. You know what I mean? And that just instinct, that primal human urge. And I think that it is interesting to see that Freud book in I mean, of all the books, like, it was real big, Freud. Like, I found that interesting. He prescribes her medicine,
she gives the prescription when she is apprehensive about even taking the
as soon as she gets
paper.
it, she's like, I don't fucking want this. But then after she gets that, that's where we go to the grocery store. We see the cashier who's missing a hand, and is a Trump supporter. Who puts on that red hat. And she just kind of keeps on keeping on with her shopping. Quick flash in the dome mirror, where she thinks she sees a couple clowns behind her, which we assume is
mental illness.
Mental illness.
Only because prior to this, TV Guide has went on record saying that there's no supernatural elements.
No supernatural elements. So that's the tricky part in this season. I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. Woo. All right. Thank you. So she sees them, starts hearing stuff over the speaker. And as she's walking around the grocery store...
Take it back. She has one flash, which we think is in her mind.
We think that's in her mind.
That kind of unsettles her.
Yes. Now...
As she's, trying to get her bearings on things.
Yeah.
There's some stuff on the intercom.
Yeah, she hears some weird noises.
She looks over in the produce.
She walks a little bit, yeah. She's going from the back of the store to the front of the store. And when she makes her way to the front of the store, that's when she's in the produce section and sees the 2 clowns.
Who we have affectionately named Chuckles, or the one with the green hair, who is tall.
Yeah, the tall with the green hair, that's Chuckle and Brains. Yes.
He's the clown with the brains.
Yes.
Chuckles is fucking Brains.
Chuckles is fucking Brains.
In the majority of that scene where she's like,
Except for on a pan back... They
switch.
They
switch positions.
And Brain is fucking Chuckles.
Yes.
Okay. So, then enter Dickface.
On a scooter.
On a motorized scooter.
I don't know if it was a motorized scooter.
Oh, it has to
I don't know, because honestly, I had like one of those, like, it was, we were in the 2000s, come on. I had one of those fucking Razor scooters.
I take a Razor scooter to the dumpster to throw the trash out at work. And I will tell you that was motorized, because there ain't no way you're flying through. I can tell you that from experience.
So, yes, and he goes through the,
so he's chasing her, and he's got a knife. Now, she falls down on the floor. He is on the scooter and just, like, pointing the knife at her and, like, goes around the corner and doesn't kill her.
She is wielding wine bottles.
She is wielding wine bottles. She does throw a couple wine bottles at Dickface. Now, at that point, after the last wine bottle is chucked, she runs past Dickface.
Into an assumingly empty parking lot.
Assumingly
empty building.
A crazy empty parking lot for a grocery store. I don't know if
I've
ever seen...
Not even that one employee car. But it probably got dropped off.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe. Could be. But when she enters the car, there does not appear to be anybody else in it. And at this point, I think we can assume that the mental illness kicks in. She calls out Ivy, right? She calls Ivy up,
screaming. She calls Ivy screaming, and then we're not sure if she has a vision or if it is an actual clown in her backseat. I am
maintaining that it's a vision.
I would say that's
a vision. On record.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure, because she crashes the car, and that person, or, could have, if it was an actual person, they could have had time to escape. I don't know. There's logistics in it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna go with vision at that point. But starting from when she heard the first initial flash, fake, everything else real. "Quote unquote." Last clown would be.
Before we move ahead to the introduction with silver-haired detective, I feel like there might have been a crime on TV, or maybe I was hallucinating this, that we kind of saw in the background before we're actually introduced to the actual detective in thing. I feel like there was a news story with the lady from season 6 and her in the background that he's commenting on. But maybe not.
I don't believe so.
Maybe not.
I don't believe
But I mean, it jumps to.
Yeah, because this is the first appearance of Silver Hair Detective.
And he is at the
home. Channel 7 News doesn't come in until episode 2.
So she is already home. The
detective
is at the detective, silver-haired, Colton Arrow, whatever his fucking name is.
Yes, his name is Colton Haynes.
Colton Haynes from Arrow.
Yes. Detective Jack Samuels
appears and
telling Ivy what had happened to Allie.
That there was nothing on the cameras. That it was just her screaming with wielding wine.
That is what the detective told Ivy. Correct.
He departs, and you see that there is some tension already in the marriage between Allie and Ivy from a financial standpoint. In that episode, it's, her anxiety is taking away from her being at the joint restaurant that they own, the butchery at 5th or whatever the fuck. And they have that conversation of you're not, that anxiety is taking you away from the business. Ivy mentions, let's get a babysitter. Enter Willow as Oz, their child's babysitter.
Right.
And that's the first time, also, kind of snowballing into that.
Yes. So, now, before... Well, we had Allison come over, Winter come over, right, do the interview.
So, synonymous at the same time that Winter is doing the interview with Allie and Ivy, Kai and Winter are doing a pinky swear interrogation interview. Right.
Now, and that's where you find out, really, Kai as, it's hard to say he's the brains of the operation. He's the noisiest of the operation, that's for sure. But you see that he imposes fear. For someone who knows that fear cripples, he uses that quite a bit to make Winter and anybody else that he talks to feel imposed upon at points. You know what I mean? Now, after that, we have him with the video of the Mexicans.
So, maybe the first night, but you're jumping way ahead. The first thing is the first night, so they need a babysitter. Winter enters. The first night that she is used as a babysitter, the house across the street, an ice cream truck appears.
The ice cream truck is before or is after the Mexican attack.
That was like the last thing of the...
The ice cream truck is the last scene. Changs get murdered. Winter tells Ivy, and then it goes to Allie in bed. That's the last scene.
Anyway, going back from
So
Winter becomes the babysitter.
Winter becomes the babysitter. Yes. And then...
And obviously, right off the bat, you can tell that Winter has very different type of babysitting skills than most. Vis-a-vis, one of the first things she does is introduces Oz to the dark web.
Yeah.
Specifically, a very graphic video of someone getting stabbed in the throat.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of
Later,
that.
how Chang will be killed, and how Twisty was also killing his victims in the comic that he was reading earlier.
Yeah. So then after the dark web...
And she says that she's desensitized, kind of almost frames it doing this to make you stronger. It'd be vaccinations. That's
yeah, she talks about the
metaphor she uses. It's like vaccinating your brain. It's going to make you stronger. So she's already bringing a dark element into it.
For sure. Yeah. That introducing him to the dark web, and he wants to stop. He doesn't want to keep on watching, but that's when she talks about the vaccines and it'll make you stronger. And
correct.
All that stuff.
At that time, when she is introducing the dark web, that same first night, that is when he hears outside the ice cream truck approaching.
Ice cream truck, yes.
He sees 5 clowns depart. There would be Dickface.
No, both him and Winter see the ice cream truck.
I want to say that the ice cream truck pulls up, he sees them depart, and then he rushes out. Remember, he knocks over the plate of cookies, and then she's like, "What is your deal? What is your function?" And then they go out and... Come on, Joe, you wrote the notes, buddy. I'm just going off the dome on this.
By the end of the first episode, my notes were lacking. It was late.
So anyway,
because once they see the ice cream truck, it cuts to the Mexican. You keep on wanting to skip over that. That was in the middle of the last part of the clowns and stuff like that.
Talk about the Mexicans, honey.
I'm just saying, that is where it happens. Okay.
So it's happening the same night. The Mexicans are happening at the same time. Then Evan Peters is not one of the clowns.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
That would have to. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean it's happening at the same time. It happened the same night, but whether it was the same time or not, I don't know. Because then who's filming it?
We know who's filming it. The neighbors that will be introduced in episode 2.
Well,
Billy Ike
so then, what, they're not a clown?
I mean, we haven't even discussed who isn't
right.
a clown, but by saying that the thing happened on the same night, then you're saying that it could be happening at the same time, which means Evan Peters would not be a clown.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is happening at the same time. I think it's different times. Same night. I think it's different times. Then...
But the main point I think you wanted to raise about the Mexicans is that they were they happen to be immigrant undocumented workers. And they were provoked. Kai provokes them.
Yeah,
he's singing
throwing a piss-filled condom.
La Cucaracha.
Yes.
I think he makes his own words.
Yes, he
throws
does make up his own
balloon,
lyrics. Yes.
To which they start beating him. And how convenient that the couple who is filming only starts to film after. Vis-a-vis. They're all
Right. Then they go back to Ivy and Allie pulling up on their street to a bunch of
Police
cops
cars
and stuff. So they run. My son's in there. It's the neighbor's house. They've been... Well,
at that point, bodies are being exhumed from the home in body bags.
Which they're saying, and they're calling it a murder-suicide.
Same silver-haired detective.
Same silver-haired detective.
Point of,
point of
POC
contact, yeah.
For the police department.
Yeah.
Speaking about murder-suicide.
And then, that is when Oz tries to tell his moms about the clowns and how they did this, that, or the other, and that's when Winter says...
That basically he had, in that time, that after, seeing that the ice cream truck had pulled out, somehow, some way, Winter then find themselves outside by who's doing, I'm not sure, to scope out what's happening next door, the clowns that have arrived. To which they sneak up upon the house and show the clowns. If I'm not mistaken,
it was Winter's call. And they show, to go see the clowns.
Slashing.
Yes.
Senator Chain's neck. As seen in the Dark Web. As seen in the Twisty comics.
Yes.
To which Winter is saying, no, I didn't see anything. And reputes his statement.
Right. So then it cuts to a shot of the bathroom, walking into the bedroom, shot of Allie laying in bed, hears a noise, wakes up, and when she turns over to
She's
see
calling for Ivy.
Yeah,
She's
Ivy,
turning over as if she would find
Ivy there, and boom, dick face in her face. And
then there is a shot when she jumps out of the bed. The shot when she jumps out of the bed, there is no clown or individual on the bed.
That would be the start of the second episode.
But yet, that would be the start of the second episode.
Yes. So it's the same shot that they started off with.
And then the episode ends, and then it picks up exactly where it left off.
Right, episode 2. And, yeah, you're right. There's nobody on the bed.
There is no clown.
Runs down to Ivy.
But then there is a backsplash shot of the clown dick face on the bed, kind of just turned toward the door. So it's like, in regards, I think that is still mental illness.
Yeah. So that's her
dick face on the bed.
You're right.
And you can tell Ivy is it's getting to her a little bit. She's getting to be towards the end, the beginning of the end of the rope.
Yeah, with all the shenanigans.
She's harping on,
because she runs upstairs and there's no one there, and it's
waiting on their marriage.
For sure.
Because we didn't really touch on this, but we kind of learn in the first episode when she's in the doctor's office that she, had felt PTSD from the events of 9/11 and was like a shut-in, was unable to leave her apartment, and through Ivy and her relationship was able to gain some inner strength and be the person that she is now. That's, in regards to that. So she's already had you already kind of see that Ivy has been dealing with this in her partner for quite some time since,
Right.
Right. It's beginning.
For sure. And then, so they go through that, and then you go to, it flashes to Oz, and he's asleep, and he wakes up because he's scared. He goes to turn up on his nightlight, right? And he turns on the nightlight, and when he turns on the nightlight, boom, Twisty, right there in the room, freaking him out. And then Dickface enters the picture, and he runs to the bathroom to hide.
Pretty cliche slasher movie scene.
Yeah.
Chase scene?
For sure, and then go figure that cheesy scene is a night terror, which we have known that Ozzy is accustomed to having, and he doesn't even know whether he's awake or asleep or...
Ivy makes that remark to someone during
Winter.
Yeah,
it is to Winter. So, and then we see the Channel 7 exclusive about the
quote-unquote attack on Kai.
Yeah, Kai's stuff.
So, of course, the media is, due to that video starting after,
right.
the antagonizing of Kai's character, to the other,
sure.
to the workers.
Yeah. Now, this is where we see the new neighbors, right? And the first thing you see is these big blue chemical barrels.
Yep. Being hauled in the garage.
Taken,
Look what looks like a hazmat suit.
Yes.
In that first shot.
Yeah.
And little Miss Allie, Sarah Paulson, ballsy as ever, just walks on.
Just strolls right on up. What's going on up in here?
Peeking all up in the windows.
Somebody else's property. Yeah.
Peeking all up in windows.
Yeah,
and then when
blatantly,
blatant, and then when he's called out, I mean
just walks away.
Yes, blatantly ghosted.
Real
life. Just you don't see me. I don't exist.
Yeah, no
Boom.
Shade, no nothing.
I am not your neighbor and walking directly across the street and entering my home. Like you won't know who I am.
Yeah, if I can't see you, you can't see me.
Yeah, so she just
So yeah, that was weird. That was weird, and we didn't see anything necessarily out of the ordinary in the house. It was just, she was just trying to be Snoopy. Then we cut to their restaurant. Okay, we cut to the restaurant. You meet the sous chef, right, who is barking orders about how he's going to be in charge and only English in my kitchen, and that's where you meet Pedro, and he tells them to suck his dick under his breath in Spanish, and
they have a few
cut that
words.
Shit out. Yeah, a little bit
of an exchange.
So there's a tiff,
little tension.
Yeah. So we kind of see the dynamic. They kind of just setting up the dynamic between Pedro and the sous chef, who I don't even know. Did they give it? I don't even think they give him a name on here.
He had one of those faces, and he might have been a minor, person in something.
Is his name Roger? I feel like it was Zach Ward. Yeah, that's him. His name is Zach Ward, which we've seen him in things. He looked, Transformers, and he was he was also in A Christmas Story. That's crazy. Probably that was way back in the day. But we see him, and they set up that dynamic between Pedro and him. Then we go to Oz and Winter. Okay, now we're back at their house, and Winter has a present for Oz. And that's a little...
It's a twisty action figure.
Yeah.
I would not say doll. I would say action figure because it was detailed. And I would
collectible statue?
Yes. That one could play with.
Yes. If you were so inclined to do so, I suppose you could. But that is where Oz kind of confronts her, like, why'd you, throw me under the bus with my parents? Like, you told them that I made it up. Like, why would you do that? And that is where...
She says, I think the most killer line.
Yeah, you love this. You love that quote.
Quote for our times, and let me paraphrase it. She says the secret is, that people like to be afraid. The secret is knowing what they want to be afraid of and giving it to them.
Belief.
It's
the belief. People are going to believe what they want to believe. The trick is to figure out what they want to believe and give it to them.
Chills.
Right?
Chills. Every time I hear that couple of words strung together in that manner.
Yeah.
It's just...
it's just... all that is a really chilling way of saying be manipulative.
Like I said, it's
holding
America up to the mirror.
That's really all that's about.
And
is
saying,
just figure out how to get in people's heads and then make them do what you want.
Exactly.
Right?
capitalize on their fears.
That's everything. That's sales. That's marketing. That's
true.
And
then she presents
the
Oz with the pinky.
Yes.
And it's more of you have to tell the truth, but she also says, like, you can transfer your fear.
Yeah, like she wants to suck up his fear.
Exactly.
Like it's some sort of
magical
energy.
properties in the, flesh on flesh meeting. That
right.
To give it a magical, property.
Yes.
In regards to that.
Yes. Now, this is where the next thing is...
After that, she has started to put... After that, throughout the episode, she is putting bars on her home, on her doors, and on her windows.
No, that's not yet.
That's not yet?
That's not yet.
Okay.
That's coming up. At this point, we cut to... Ivy and Allie were having a conversation, and Winter walks in, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I just stopped into whatever because Oz is over at the neighbors."
Oh yeah, they're coming back. They're coming back from something, and and she says, "Oh, I just stopped in to get a jacket."
Yeah, they're awesome, and she's
neighbors.
like, "Oh shit!"
And she's like, "What the?"
Hauls ass over there, and that's where we meet Billy Eichner and Leslie Grossman, who are playing
Meadow and
Harrison. Yes.
Who are delightful.
Yeah, they make a good team for sure. Yeah, it's Harrison, Wilton, Meadow Wilton, husband and wife team. Now, this is where we find out why the suit. We still don't really explain the barrels. But the suit gets explained. The barrels,
but the hazmatic suit gets removed because he is a beekeeper.
I'm not an expert on beekeeping, but I feel like most beekeepers don't wear like that particular kind of suit. That's more for like respiratory stuff, not like keeping bees out. So like it was a pretty intense suit, but they kind of explain it away like that. So we'll see whether or not that actually ends up being the whole truth of it all. But he makes an interesting comment about the bees, which is
hive.
About the hive and that colony mentality, which is the perfect tie to cult.
Yes.
Which is obviously what the season is called.
Correct.
So that was pretty cool, and I believe he says, "I envy them."
Yes. And then also in regards to they are, and then they go into their house, and they're the kind of people that they are so open about themselves.
They are.
And they're the kinds of, and there's people like this in our life.
Sure.
In real life. That are so open to a point that you think that these people don't have secrets. And they do. It's just that they expel and they're so open with the majority of their stuff that you don't, you take it for granted. And I think that that's, obviously it's all in connection. Because, it happens to be Senator Chang's house. It happens to be, they happen to move in.
Mm-hmm.
They are very open about how they come to, get the house.
Yes.
A detail that surprises Allie's character is that the Changs were renters.
Yes.
In that type of neighborhood. And then, and I wanted to kind of touch on that a few moments ago, that the neighborhood has a certain level of affluence to it. And you can kind of get that feeling on election night of how, the party, it's in regards to that and that.
Yes, for sure. That kind of gets mentioned throughout the first couple episodes.
And she is like taken back by that statement. Like, what? They were renters? Like, oh, how?
Like, oh my gosh! Did they not have the equity to afford to buy a home?
And it's like, who then? Who it was? Is the person who owns the home? Is that the cult leader? Was it? Is there truly,
right.
what is true and what is false? But I have to love that they love Nicole Kidman. I have to love that they, reference Big Little Lies. I loved it. I loved that series. It was awesome.
Yes, you did.
Transcendent.
Transcendent. Yes, she was transcendent.
And she was.
So, couple little tidbits that we find out about Harrison and Meadow, right? So Meadow first says that she has cancer, right? And it's, goes back and comes and goes and stuff like that, which I find interesting, because they mention, I can't remember what it was off the top of my head.
Actually, it was in this conversation, in the same conversation, in the same scene. There are details given about the couple that we had to research in regards to that. But she's, in regards to that, they are a couple of friends. Harrison's character is a homosexual.
Yes.
But they made an agreement, a pact.
Who has a free pass once a week.
I think it was like once a month, maybe.
No, every Wednesday.
Oh yeah, in Detroit. That they were a couple that they're friends. They were not married by 35. They decided to get married.
They're 40 or whatever.
And that he has his night once a week, and she, he does not.
She mentions
he does not. He does not embarrass her.
Yeah.
And that he takes his.
It was
a.
I don't know what it was. HIV medication.
Yes.
Is essentially what it was. So now I don't know if that is to protect against or to treat HIV, but either way, like, it kind of alludes to that Harrison might have contracted the disease. And maybe, so, I mean, one has cancer, one might have HIV. Interesting, and I feel like maybe that
terminal
illness
may have...
sickness might play a part into some sort of motivation.
Contributing to them entering the cult.
Yeah. So, I don't know, maybe that's going to play a part later. We'll see.
Correctamundo. Also, so after that, is that when
after that, we go to the bed scene where Oz comes in. They're talking about something, and Oz comes in that he's scared, and he doesn't want to sleep in his bed alone.
Yes.
Ivy says it's a California King. Come on in. Tickle, tickle, tickle by Allie. And
not a moment later, an alarm on her phone goes off.
That the alarm at the restaurant is going off.
Correct. Now I'm gonna drop my bomb now.
Yeah.
And it, because we had touched upon it, but the first time we watched these episodes, I did not come up with this. It was only last night. That it would just be first. If you asked me who is the cult leader, I would have first said Winter. Now, I came into my mind that Ivy might be the cult leader. I mean, I just don't. It kind of falls into place in regards to why they'd be targeting and just having access to all the working parts of this. That's who I am pegging the cult leader to be.
Oh man, I remember when you said that. You changed the entire way that I was looking at everything. It makes a lot of sense.
It does. I mean, it does, and only because
there's a couple things that like really don't fall into place. But I mean, a simple. Just like, well, no, I wanted you to believe this, and it explains it all away.
I only mentioned it because it's like, and then all of a sudden, it's like she gets a alert. Oh, there was an alarm tripped at the, restaurant.
Right, and we'll go on to discuss why that is. But I believe we'll leave that for part 2 of this American Horror Story podcast.
Oh, yeah, are we doing a part 2?
Yeah, we're going to do a part 2. So we're going to go there, we're going to drop the bomb and then friggin' deuces.
Boom!
Right, so let that friggin' simmer on your faceplate for a little bit. Allie might be the cult leader. No, I'm sorry, Ivy, short hair.
And you heard it here first,
and you heard it here
Smoking Fox says, called it.
Yes, so with that, we will see you.
We bid you adieu.
We'll see you next week. Don't forget to check out the blogs. We have my blog, which is culturaldrifter.weebly.com. We got
SmokingFoxSays.weebly.com.
We got that. We got those.
Come walk in weirdness with us.
That's the best place to keep updated with all of our content that we're putting out, whether it be YouTube, SoundCloud, Podomatic, whatever. Our blogs are always the best place to go for the most recent and up-to-date information. So with that, I'm Cultural Drifter.
And I'm Smoking Fox.
And keep on drifting.
Keep going. Smoking out.
Hello and welcome to this week's Drifting Through Smoke. I am Cultural Drifter.
And that would make me Smoking Fox.
So today we're going to be talking about the new season of American Horror Story. When we're recording this, only the first 3 episodes have aired. By the time this is posted, 4 will be aired. Right now we're just going to discuss those first 3. So we're just going to run through the events of the episode and see what's actually happening here. So the beginning of the first episode, that is what kicks off kind of the framing device of the season, which is the election. Now, we've said this